So a lot of people are accusing me of only promoting, well, not promoting, but only explaining the dangers of Delta 8 THC containing products because, you know, the people at ROTC LLC promote Delta 8, uh, products containing Delta 8 THC. And it's not just Delta 8 THC, it's also all these like CBD, cannabinoids, all this stuff. People are not taking into consideration the potential dangers of these things. People should be aware that I've always promoted, since I've started this channel, maybe not since I started it, but from the beginning of this channel, I've promoted the 8 laws of health, the Adventist 8 laws of health, and one of those is to avoid things that are bad for you, like illicit street drugs, alcohol, and marijuana. Okay. Uh, People know I also support legalization of drugs. I'm not like some mamby-pamby person that's against drugs or thinks that, if somebody does drugs, they're automatically going to become a werewolf and eat somebody. However, I'm somebody with a lot of personal experience with drugs. I smoked a lot of marijuana from the age of 11 to the age of about 21. Now, during that time, about a 10-year period, I never had a negative reaction to marijuana. Never did. Okay? Probably wasn't too good for my lungs, but I didn't have a negative reaction to the psychedelic effects of the substance, the THC, or any other cannabinoid in it. However, I do know people that have. One instance was I was messing around with this girl, and we were smoking pot in a cemetery. Okay, and we were fooling around, and out of nowhere, she freaked. She had never smoked marijuana before, and I guess I was about 17. I think she was about 17. She was about the same age as me. And we're smoking pot. Now, I had a lot of pot under under my belt at this point. I smoked a lot of pot. And I was fine. She started thinking that all of the bodies in the graves were going to wake up and eat her, and she started having really bad schizophrenic-like effects, severe schizophrenic-like effects, thinking that there were aliens coming down from the sky and angels and all sorts of stuff, that the ground had opened up and she saw demons coming out of the ground. And this is just from regular homegrown marijuana. I was always very lucky because a friend of mine's father grew his own marijuana back before it was legal, and it was just straight marijuana, nothing fancy, nothing crazy, just pot. uh, and I've had numerous friends. I had another friend that almost went into a coma from smoking marijuana. She had a very bad reaction to it. And these are not this isn't concentrated Delta 8 THC, okay? That's what I want to point out. Now, working in mental health, I had a number of clients. The problem with marijuana is once it became socially acceptable, it became okay for people to just use as much of it as they want. And it's not okay. It's not necessarily a safe substance. It's bad for the heart. It can cause cancer. It can cause a lot of problems, okay? And a lot of these non-regulated gummies and things like this, they contain heavy metals. They contain carcinogens like the heavy metals, but also other carcinogens. They're not necessarily safe products. Not to mention, THC is very bad for the heart. It could be very bad for the heart. And of course, it can cause psychotic episodes. Usually these episodes are mild. Getting high is a mild form of psychosis. Okay? Getting crazy off of marijuana, and we've all seen people that have had negative reactions to marijuana. Like I said, I'm lucky. I'm somebody that I've never been paranoid from pot. The only time I had a bad reaction to marijuana was when I was already high, and my brother switched out my pot. I was smoking pot, and he switched it out for PCP, and I didn't recognize it at first, and only one hit of that crap, holy God, did I go crazy. But the thing was, the actual marijuana I never had a problem with, okay? However, like I'm saying, I've seen other people experience marijuana-induced psychosis. There was a guy that the principal cause of his heart disease, they think, was marijuana. And it's also, when you work in mental health, a lot of the people that come in for treatment, they never admit to marijuana use, either because they're lying and they don't want people to know that they have substance use disorder, or they just don't consider it anything worth telling the doctor. So, of course, if you're coming in with mild psychotic symptoms, the doctor is going to think you're psychotic. And this is one of the reasons I'm not as hard on psychiatrists as people might like me to be, people that are survivors of psychiatric abuse. I've seen both sides of it, and I've seen doctors try to be diligent about prescribing what they believe is the right substances to their patients, and the patient can, in their eyes, get better. I've never really seen success with psychiatry, but what I can say is I have seen doctors try very diligently to treat patients that have been very non-forthcoming with necessary information to be treated properly by the physicians, okay, by the psychiatrists. Or therapists or whoever. It's just, you gotta, if you want honest help, you have to be honest to get the help, and there's a lot of dishonesty about people that seek mental health services. But of course, people that seek mental health services are, of course, mentally ill. So you have to cut them a bit of a break, too. So what I'd like to point out, though, is the dangers of Delta 8 THC are not all known because it's not been well researched. These are unregulated products. Both the FDA and CDC have put out warnings about these products, particularly about the heavy metals and other chemicals in there that could be very bad for you. Even the veterinary grade products, and veterinary grade products are held to a higher standard than human grade products. There's been concerns about some of the things that might be in veterinary grade CBD and Delta 8 products and things of that nature that might not be good for your dog or cat or whoever. But it's very interesting. Now, I also wanted to cover, there's a program called Narconon. It's a recovery program. And what's interesting is a lot of people like to talk about how it's dangerous and deadly because Leah Remini did a thing about Scientology blasting the Purification Rundown, and the Purification Rundown is the backbone of the Narconon program. If you read the articles in PubMed that I put in the description, what you will find out, what's different about Narconon, which is based off the teachings of L. Ron Hubbard, and regular rehabilitation programs, is Narconon actually works. Both the drug education program that takes place in schools, it's proven that children that partake in that, unlike DARE, which is the non-Scientology related one, but Narconon drug education in schools reduces use of drugs by children, and the sauna program, the Purification Rundown, actually is effective at getting the drugs out of the system. And The Way to Happiness, which is the book that's used, which is L. Ron Hubbard's teachings, The Way to Happiness, it actually does teach the people the life skills they need to not mess up again, which is completely different. If anybody's worked in mental health, the main difference is that one works and one doesn't. The mental health industry has been a terrible failure with helping people with diseases, with mental health issues. And it's been very terrible at helping people with substance use disorder. It just does not work. And this is one of the reasons where people wonder why I'm not against Scientology. I'm not a Scientologist. Okay, I've never gone to a Dianetics reading. I never would. It's not my thing. Okay, but the way I always looked at it is, I know so many people that have survived psychiatric abuse and abuse by mental health practitioners and abuse in inpatient facilities and outpatient facilities, etc., and have not gotten any better. And there are things like Dianetics, the whole process of going clear and all this. I've never done this. I don't know anybody that has done it. But what I can say is I guarantee you, I can say this. I don't think anyone is getting harmed by Dianetics. The reverse is true with psychiatric abuse, with the abuse that takes place in the mental health industry. Okay, that the reverse is true. So nobody is really getting hurt by Dianetics or Scientology, despite what people say. There's never been any real proof that this has been going on. And, you know, that's the thing. And the thing is, some people will point out how there's been like a death or two at Narconon rehabs. Anybody that's worked in mental health or worked with drug addicts and has had to handle things at mental hospitals or drug rehabilitation centers and has visited their clients or what have you, there's deaths that happen all the frickin' time in the mainstream rehabs, in the mainstream mental hospitals, etc. So my point is, what you would probably find out if there was any real research done is there's far fewer deaths, like drastically fewer. You're talking about like 2 or 3 in the past, I don't know how many, 60, 70 years since that program has been, this is the Narconon program, has been in existence. It's quite a few years. You're talking about less than a handful of deaths. And then with the regular mainstream situation, you have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deaths annually, okay, that take place in these rehabs and these hospitals, etc. So, I mean, it's really interesting to me how people view this. But, I mean, ultimately what people need to understand about these Delta-8 products, these things are poisonous. If the thing that I don't like is when people... I'm all for legalizing everything. Tax it, regulate it, so that you know that it's not going to kill you. Okay, that you know, so you know that if you're buying a substance, that substance doesn't have other substances in there that are bad for you. Okay, I'm totally cool with that. I'm totally cool with legalizing everything, and I mean everything: heroin, marijuana, cocaine, ephedrine, methamphetamine, make things available to everybody, prescription drugs, make them available to everybody that's 21 years or over or so. And, I don't see a problem with that. I really don't, as long as they're being regulated properly and taxed. These products are not being regulated properly. There's no, like on these programs, these ROTC LLC programs, you don't know where these products are going to. You don't know if they're going overseas where they're illegal. You don't know if they're going to states where they're illegal. You don't know. They're encouraging everybody to do these things, including children that might be watching the program. And there have been so many overdoses on THC of children recently that it's absolutely terrifying. And it's going to cause, and it has caused, these products have caused a real bad uptick in marijuana-induced psychosis. And like I said, it can be mild or it can be severe. You can have severe instances of marijuana-induced psychosis. I've seen them. I've seen people completely go bonkers on weed. Just weed. But it's not just weed. It's dangerous. Marijuana is a dangerous substance. Okay, and people need to know that. And then that's marijuana. That's not even talking about these highly concentrated THC products, okay, that are probably thousands of times more potent than true marijuana, okay, and you're eating it, so it's processed through the system differently, okay, or you're vaping it. What about the gentleman that had the collapsed lung from the improper vape juice that was relatively recent? I mean, people need to be more careful about the stuff they put in their bodies, quite frankly. That's all for this video. Do follow the links in the description. I'm not just making this stuff up. I'm telling the truth. So do actually look at the links in the description. Beware of the danger of marijuana-induced psychosis, which comes from THC. So Delta-8 THC is a concentrated form of THC. So beware, and also beware of the heavy metals present in the gummies and present in the vape products and things of this nature. These are not safe products. Getting high is not safe. Nobody should be getting high, okay? But like I said, If you legalize it, tax it, and regulate it, keeping it illegal isn't stopping people from getting high, but extensive drug education probably would. And people like me on the internet coming out and saying, don't do drugs, might actually help. If a lot of people stood firm against drug use, it might help. That's all for this video.